Hi guys, Chris here with the Civiltop Air. Now this is a new brand for me, and this particular laptop is powered by the Celeron N3450, 4GB of RAM, 128GB of SSD storage, and it is very thin, super light. It weighs just over a kilo. So a very portable machine, but it has a definite deal breaker for a lot of people, and that is it only has on the side here a USB 3.1 Type-C port, and then a 3.5mm headphone jack on the right of it. So if you want full-size ports, then this clearly isn't the model for you. But what it does have is fingerprint security, super portable, a full metal build, and a 1080p 12.5-inch screen. So let's have a look at it now in greater detail. This one I picked up from GearBest. Now I also believe that this is also the Onda Shoma 21, which is a very similar model, but that one has full-sized USB ports on it. So the notebook here comes in only gold. Unfortunately, I would have preferred a silver version. We have a user manual that is in English. And yes, they have included an adapter. So we're going to need this, of course, because there's our full-size USB 3, HDMI, and then the Type-C for charging, because this has only one Type-C port on it. Type-C to Type-C cable, and the charger here, two-prong, I think it's two-prong US style. That just flicks out, and it is rated to 12 volts, 2 amps. So the main attraction of this notebook is its weight. And they claim it weighs just over 1.4, and it is 1.08 kilos, which is really light. Okay, so very light, very thin, and an all-metal design. But not a lot here to show you port-wise. This is the deal breaker for many. It doesn't even have a micro SD card slot on there, which I feel is a bit of a design error. So just the Type-C port on here and a status LED on the left side. On the back, we do find some plastic here. This is for the wireless AC antenna reception and Bluetooth. And on the right side, they have at least included a 3.5mm headphone jack that supports microphones. Now to check and see if it can be opened up with just one hand. Not quite. And that's as far as the lid will go back, because the top of it, the bottom should I say, is actually touching right here. So it won't go back any further because the feet aren't high enough. Just to give you an idea how super thin this is, you can see there, side on, that yeah, it is really, really thin. I'm going to measure it. Comes in at 7.7mm there. Now with the lid, this is the thickest part around here, I think. It's around 12mm, so very thin. So it's got a pre-applied protector on the palm rest, which is made all out of metal. The keyboard, pressing down hard here, seems to be quite firm. The keys feel good travel to them. So I get this removed, and they have actually put some stickers on there that we don't often see. On the palm rest, I can't say I'm a fan of that. And up the top, there's also a screen protector. And along the front here, we have two microphones either side of the front-facing 2-megapixel webcam. The screen looks glossy to me, but I'm not too sure until I pull off the screen protector here that's on there. And yes, it is a glossy display. Actually, it's not a glossy display. I can see underneath it's a matte display. This is a screen protector, and I just pulled off the top layer of it because there are a couple of little specks of dust along here. So you can decide whether you want glossy or matte just by removing the protector that's on the screen. And inside the touchpad here, we do have a fingerprint reader there for fingerprint security. So you can use Windows Hello to unlock that by just placing your scanned finger on top of it, and it should unlock straight away. Time to power it on. Now the power button location is in a bit of an awkward position, and it's not any more resistant than the other buttons, so it could accidentally be tapped. Now there is a way around this, of course, that in Windows settings you can set the power button to actually do nothing. So it powered up really quick. It came up with an administrator account that someone has already created, which isn't a good sign. So normally I would probably go back and do a full factory reset just to be safe. But I think it's just because someone's gone in, set it up and checked for faults, possibly GearBest, that have done this. So first look at the screen. I've got it at 100% brightness at the moment, and the viewing angles and everything seem okay. I'll show you those in just a second, but that is the brightness at 0%, which is very dim, which is going to make it ideal for using late at night with absolutely no lights on. 25%, 50, 75, and then back on to 100 there, which seems to be bright enough. So you can see that it has decent viewing angles, definitely an IPS panel. Doesn't shift out either like those TM panels do. To me, it looks just like the same screen that I've seen on the Xiaomi Mi Notebook Air, the 12.5-inch version. So just a couple of things here to point out in the device manager. The SSD, 128 gigabytes, no idea what brand that is. First, I thought it was going to come with an eMMC 128 gigabyte one, but it's good to see they've used an SSD. I'll benchmark that later on in the review. And we do have the same Intel dual band wireless AC, the 3165 chipset that I've seen in many other devices. Very common, and it does perform quite well. Now, there is a problem here with the ELAN fingerprint reader. That's for the added security that's built into the touchpad there, of course. For some reason, it looks like this is not going to be working at the moment. Doesn't have the drivers installed properly there, so I'm going to have to try and solution that and fix that. Find a solution, I should say. But you should never have to do this when you get a new device, have a problem straight away. So not good to see this. So just testing out the keyboard here. It actually seems fairly decent. A lot better than the Voyo VBook version 3 that I've just recently looked at, which had the worst keyboard in the world. This one feels really good. There's like no flex on that, very firm. Decent feedback from the individual keys there, good travel. Now there's some good news about the touchpad. It is detected in Windows settings as a precision touchpad. So what this means is we're able to disable those gestures. We've got full control over it. The accuracy of it and the speed seems good. So the finer movements seem quite accurate. We do have incorporated left and right mouse buttons in there. So it's not just only gestures. It's not one of those horrible trackpads like that. But overall, so far, so good. We're able to close things down, no problems. I do feel that it's a touchpad that I'm going to be able to use without having to resort to plugging in a mouse, which is great because remember, this only has one port on it, so we don't want to be losing one of those ports or having to use an adapter, should I say, on the Type-C port just to use a mouse. Okay, so I've just struck a rather major issue here with the CD key they've used. It says here that Windows is activated using your organization's activation service and telling me I need to change the product key, which is crazy. This is a brand new laptop, so why on earth do I have to supply or buy my own key here? This is really bad. This should not be happening at all. So while I can't see where the speakers are, they're internal ones. There's no speaker grill whatsoever on the bottom of it. You can hear from that they've got a bit of volume to them. They sound all right. There is a tiny hint of bass, some mids, and a bit of treble there. So the speakers aren't the worst I've heard on these laptops out of China. I have a 1 terabyte hard drive here and my Type-C adapter. So I'm going to check and see if it's going to be able to power this drive. Okay, we get the confirmation beep there from Windows, and yes, that is working, which is great to see that it can power external hard drives. Now that included adapter only gives us one full-size USB 3 port, but you can of course use other ones. For example, this Have It one that I've got there has 3 USB 3 ports there, so one on this side, full SD card reader, one USB port there, and then another, and of course in the Type-C in there for charging, and full-size HDMI. Now I did check this out. I went over to my 4K monitor, plugged it in, it worked, but I'm only getting 30 Hertz. That's all it does. That's all the Apollo Lake can do. So 4K 30 Hertz maximum output, and yes, data and charging at the same time. Everything is working. So it is possible to use this just like a one-port dock. So you can have that all connected up to a monitor, have your keyboard connected, your printer and other things, and just simply go along, plug it in, it will charge and connect you up to everything. And for those of you who want to see if it's going to run Linux, this is Linux Manjaro R17. And everything is working so far that I can see. So things like brightness, that's fine. The audio is working. But what isn't working, apart from all of that, is the touchpad. So touchpad driver problems there. You'll have to hunt around and find a solution for that. Wireless is working. I don't know whether it will install onto the hard drive. I haven't got to that point yet. Okay, so not exactly off to a good start here with the Civiltop Air. The fact that I need to supply my own Windows 10 Pro key to upgrade it, or a Windows 10 Home key, I feel isn't acceptable. Why should this be happening when this is a brand new laptop? So they've used a forge key or some other key, and really it's just not on. The other thing is there's a problem with the drivers for the ELAN fingerprint reader there. I need to find out and hunt around. Hopefully Windows Update will have those drivers to fix that. But besides that, and the obvious con that we don't have full-size ports on here or a micro SD card reader, that we're going to have to use that adapter they've given us in the box at least, which means that's another hassle to always lug that around. Besides that, it's really light, really thin, as you've seen, super portable. Now the keyboard does feel quite good to type on, happy with that, and the build quality overall is really quite good. Decent 12.5-inch screen. The touchpad supports gestures, and we've got full control over it because it is detected as a precision touchpad with the correct drivers on there, everything. So if you don't like the swipe up and down minimize, you can go and disable that, and you've got full control there. And it feels accurate and fast, so that is really good. So at this point, it's really hard to recommend this because it's expensive. Now the Onda Shoma 21 could be better than this because you've got the full-size ports and this basic build. And as mentioned, I think it could be the same ODM, so the same guys that are making this, and of course it's just been rebadged under Onda's name or Civiltop's name. So if I do decide that this makes the cut for the final review, I will of course go with things like battery life, benchmarks, gaming performance, and check out just how fast that 128GB SSD is. Thanks a lot for making it this far in the review and watching it. And if you did like the review, please a thumbs up. And if you do have any questions, let me know in the comments. Bye for now.